As psychology continues to evolve, so is the society's perspective towards the aforementioned study. Just what is psychology? In its early days, psychology could be defined as a scientific study of mind or mental processes. Over time, psychology began to shift more towards the scientific study of mind behavior, a field of study that is actively interested in researching and comprehending how the mind, the brain, and behavior work. Have you ever wondered how psychology shifted its purpose through the decades? From psychotherapy only to the modern day, non invasive microstimulation treatments. We can conclude that the field of psychology has really come a long way. Here are the 15 most influential individuals who sparked the evolution in psychology. The timeline of psychology.
Plato, from 428 to 347 BCE, as one of the prominent Greek philosophers that founded the academics in Athens, he defined three aspects of the psyche: reason, feeling, and appetite. He also wrote about the duality of the psyche and the relationship between mind and body. Madness and ignorance for Plato were disease of the mind brought about by the body.
Aristotle, from 384 to 432 BCE, a student of Plato, often regarded as the father of psychology, and his book, De Anima, or On the Soul, being the first book on psychology. He discussed what he saw as the passive intellect and the active intellect, and also began to emphasize the importance of empirical observations in psychology.
Thomas Hobbes from 1588 to 1679 Common Era. The work of Hobbes introduced and opened the door to modern-day cognitive psychology. This includes how an individual perceives, thinks, acts, and such. He claimed that the brain was just reacting to external stimuli or what was happening around it.
René Descartes, 1596 to 1650, popular for being the father of philosophy, he was known for his concept of dualism, which contended that mind and body are fundamentally distinct from one another. Each can exist on its own.
John Locke, from 1632 to 704. He introduced the word tabula rasa, meaning blank state, that suggests the idea that people lack mental capacity at birth and all information must be acquired through experience or perception, which started the debate about nature versus nurture.
Jean-Jacques Rousseau, from 1712 to 1778. Contradicting Locke's idea, he claimed that humans were born good and were only then made bad by society's rules. He also believed that if they were given the option of living freely, then they would develop good and would be happy.
Gustav Fechner from 1801 to 1887, the founder of psychophysics, a collection of techniques for scientifically connecting reported sensation to measured sensory stimulation.
Charles Darwin, 1809 to 1882. A naturalist, created the scientific theory of evolution and evolutionary psychology that provided two key theories that guide much of modern psychological research: natural selection and sexual selection. These theories have great historic value, guiding psychologists to classes of adaptive problems linked with survival and reproduction.
Wilhelm Wundt, from 1832 to 1920, known to posterity as the father of experimental psychology, as he founded the first formal laboratory for psychological research and helped the development of structuralism. He was also the first person to refer to himself as a psychologist.
William James, from 1842 to 1910, known as the father of American psychology, the first one who taught the first classes on psychology at Harvard in 1875, and he also helped the development of functionalism. He was the first advocate an alternative viewpoint on how psychology should function, which influenced how subsequent psychologists and scholars perceive the world.
Ivan Pavlov, a Russian psychologist, known for his theory, which is the classical conditioning, an experiment that he conducted with a dog and a bell. It asserts that learning new behaviors involves associating a positive stimulus with a neutral one and calls the learned behavior as a conditioned response.
Hermann Ebbinghaus, 1850 to 1909, a German psychologist who focused on studying sensation, perception, and memory. From his experiments, he recognized trends in memory. He found patterns in when we remember and forget things. With this, he discovered the spacing effect and forgetting curve.
Sigmund Freud from 1856 to 1939. He is an Austrian neurologist who was the founder of psychoanalysis and introduced prominent theories such as his idea of conscious and unconscious, the id, ego, and superego, dream interpretation, and psychosexual development.
Edward Bradford Titchener from 1867 to 1927. Credited as the founder of the school of thought structuralism, he was an English psychologist and a student of Wundt. He coined the word empathy, a translation of the German word Einfühlung. He also introduced the method of introspection, or the precise examination and description of conscious experiences.
John B. Watson, from 1878 to 1958, an American psychologist who was popular for his controversial experiment called Little Albert, as he was inspired by Pavlov's classical confirmation. He was known as the father of behaviorism when he helped with the work of other behaviorist theories like B.F. Skinner. Of course, this history does not only end there. There were still many psychologists who contributed and shaped the current psychology we have in our modern generation today. Let us not forget that we can even give a helping hand towards the further development of this scientific study. And like they always say, looking back was never a bad thing, as you shouldn't compare yourself to other people. Instead, compare yourself with who you were yesterday. We are the Group 5 and thank you for watching.